Hey there, Washington Commanders fans. Welcome to another video. Today we've got some hot and exclusive news about our team. We're going to talk about the important decisions our coach, Dan Quinn, and the front office will have to make to cut the roster down to 53 players by Tuesday. And the most interesting part is that they're approaching this situation in a way that's quite different from what we're used to. So, stick around till the end because there's a lot to discuss, and you won't want to miss all the behind-the-scenes action. You know that the preseason is coming to an end, and with that, the Commanders, like all other NFL teams, need to make a tough decision. Who's staying on the roster and who's getting cut? Currently, our roster has 90 players, but by Tuesday at 4 p.m., that number needs to be reduced to 53. But check this out. Coach Dan Quinn and the front office aren't looking at this roster reduction in the traditional way. They have a pretty interesting view on how to build the team for the regular season. Quinn recently commented that for him, the list is more like 70 players. What does he mean by 70 players? Let's break this down. Dan Quinn explained that with the new NFL rules, they can have veterans on the practice squad who can be activated during the season. This is a game changer because it allows for greater flexibility when building the team for games. He mentioned that this approach is especially useful when you need depth at a specific position. Instead of keeping a rookie on the active roster who's still developing, it might be more strategic to keep an experienced veteran on the practice squad, ready to be activated when needed. That's quite an interesting perspective, isn't it? This not only helps maintain a more balanced roster, but also gives the coach more security in terms of game planning. Now, speaking a bit more about these roster cuts, did you know that all players cut by teams go to the waiver wire? This means any team in the league can claim them, as long as it's not the same team that cut them. If no one claims the player, they're free to sign with any practice squad. And this is where the Commanders' strategy of forming a robust practice squad with veterans and rookies who are still in the development phase comes into play. It's a chess game that Quinn and his team are playing, thinking not just about the present but also about the team's future. But what's really heating up in this discussion is the quarterback situation. You must have seen that David Kenyon from Bleacher Report dropped an article suggesting that the Commanders should cut a quarterback before the start of the 2024 season. He argues that with Jayden Daniels locked in as the starter and Marcus Mariota as the backup, it doesn't make sense to keep a third active quarterback on the roster. He suggests the team could get rid of Jeff Driscoll and keep a rookie like Sam Hartman on the practice squad. Does this make sense to you folks? Let's discuss this in the comments. People, it's important to remember that maintaining a lean 53-player roster is no easy task, especially when you have to consider injuries, suspensions, and rookie development. That's why every decision counts. And Quinn is being quite strategic here. He mentioned that including veterans on the practice squad is a big change because it allows the team to have a broader scope of options. This helps a lot when you need a more experienced player to fill a gap at a specific position. It's always a tough decision, but in the end, it's competitiveness that counts. And he will always decide based on what's best for the team in terms of competitiveness. And let's be honest, folks, this season is going to be crucial for the Commanders' future. With the new administration and the renewed vision of the front office, there's a huge expectation around what this team can achieve. And make no mistake, this decision to reduce the roster will directly impact our performance on the field. Every player who stays, every player who goes to the practice squad will have to be ready to contribute, whether training with the main roster or being prepared to be activated at any moment. Those of you who have been following the team closely probably already have an idea of which players are most likely to be cut, right? But sometimes, what seems obvious to us fans might not be so clear to the coaching staff. Quinn has repeatedly mentioned the importance of competitive nature in decisions. This means that regardless of the player's name or experience, what counts is what they show on the field, day in and day out, in practice. And that's what we want to see, isn't it? A competitive team with players who give their all. Moreover, the possibility of including veterans on the practice squad is a change that brings several strategic advantages. As we've already mentioned, this allows for greater flexibility and the ability to respond quickly to injuries or performance drops. But on the other hand, it also creates a dilemma: how to balance the development of young talent with the experience and consistency of veterans. It's a delicate balancing act that Quinn and his team need to play, and so far they seem to be playing it very well. Now, talking about the future of our Commanders, what do you think about the strategy of not keeping a third active quarterback? Is it a risky move, or is it the right move to free up space for other positions that might need more depth? After all, football is a game of strategy, and each position has its weight on the field. Plus, keeping Hartman, the rookie from Notre Dame, on the practice squad could be a masterstroke. He has a lot of potential and can develop a lot by training with the main roster. What do you think? Leave your opinions in the comments. What's clear, folks, is that Coach Dan Quinn and offensive coordinator Cliff Kingsbury are working hard to ensure the team is prepared for all possible scenarios. And this new era they're bringing to the Commanders promises to be full of surprises. They're focused on creating a dynamic and versatile offense that can adapt to different opponents and game situations. So, get ready for a lot of excitement this season. The truth is that the decision about who to keep on the roster and who to cut isn't easy for any coach. But when it comes to a franchise with the history and potential of the Commanders, every move is crucial. You must have noticed by now that Dan Quinn isn't the type to make impulsive decisions. Each choice is well thought out, taking into account not just the current moment, but also the team's future. And that's why his approach of maintaining an extended roster of 70 players, counting on veterans in the practice squad, makes so much sense. Now, let's do an exclusive analysis of our team. Did you know that the Washington Commanders were listed among the teams most likely to improve in 2024? That's right. After a season full of ups and downs, it seems our team has finally found the right path to success. But will this prediction come true? Let's dive deep into this information and understand what we can expect from the upcoming season. Let's get straight to the point. The Washington Commanders have gone through major changes recently. With a new ownership group coming in before the 2023 season, expectations were high, but the result was a disappointing 4-13 record. Now, if you're like me, you must be wondering, what went wrong? Was the change in leadership enough? And more importantly, what does this mean for 2024? Well, the good news is that ESPN experts believe the Commanders are ready to make a big leap next year. Speaking of changes, Coach Dan Quinn is now at the helm of this ship, and he's not alone. He's brought with him 2 new coordinators who promise to shake up the team's dynamics. And I know you, loyal fan, are asking yourself, will this work? Well, there are many reasons to believe it will. ESPN listed our beloved Washington among the teams most likely to improve in the 2024 season. And personally, I think they're right. But of course, this depends on several pieces falling into place. Let's talk a bit about what can really make a difference for the Commanders. During the last season, we saw minimal production from the team. And honestly, that's unacceptable for a franchise with so much potential. But here's the positive point. The 2024 draft brought a new quarterback, Jayden Daniels. That name should sound familiar to you. He was the number 2 pick in the draft and is a Heisman winner straight from LSU. Daniels' entry is seen as a significant change for the Commanders, something that could finally turn the game around for our franchise. ESPN made an interesting comparison between the Commanders and the Texans, mentioning that both teams chose high-potential quarterbacks with the number 2 pick in the draft. Now you might be thinking, are we in the same situation as the Texans? It might be an exaggeration, but this comparison isn't as absurd as it seems. Daniels has the ability to elevate the offense's game, and that might be what Washington needs to turn things around. If you stop to think about it, there are players here who could shine more if the quarterback play improved. And speaking of shine, who here doesn't want to see Terry McLaurin finally play with a decent quarterback? ESPN highlighted that McLaurin hasn't had that opportunity yet. Plus, we have Jahan Dotson, who shined as a rookie but disappeared last season with Howell. Daniels' arrival could change all of that, and honestly, I can't wait to see this kid on the field. Daniels' dual threat capability allows offensive coordinator Cliff Kingsbury to be more creative on offense and involve a variety of players. That's music to our ears, right? Now let's talk about some interesting reinforcements the Commanders have brought in. Austin Ekeler, a free agent who had a tough year with the Chargers in 2023, is now with us. He's just a year removed from a season with 1,637 yards and 18 touchdowns. That's incredible. And of course, we have second-round tight end Ben Sinnott, who's being compared to Chris Cooley, one of our former players. The addition of these talents might be exactly what Daniels needs for immediate success. But let's be realistic here, fans. A big improvement might not show up in the win total right away. Even if Daniels significantly elevates the offense, Washington might still only win 6 or 7 games. And that's normal. What really matters next season is that Daniels shows potential as the franchise quarterback. The key is for the Commanders to learn how to build a strong team around him. Another point to consider is the impact of the coordinators. A good head coach is essential, but coordinators are the heart of any team's strategy. The Commanders' hiring of new defensive and offensive coordinators could be what sets the team apart in 2024. We've seen this happen in several franchises over the years. The right coordinator can completely change a team's playing style. But let's get back to the offense because that's where things really get interesting. With Daniels, Eckler, McLaurin, Dotson, and Sinnott, we have an offensive core that can really make an impact. Imagine a dynamic offense that can move the ball quickly down the field and score points in the blink of an eye. Yes, it might be a dream, but it's a dream that's starting to look more real every day. And if you're a true fan like me, you know we're ready to support our team to the end. Finally, friends, the 2024 season promises to be a roller coaster of emotions, and I want you to be with me every step of this journey. So, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell to not miss any updates, and of course, leave your opinions in the comments. And remember, the future of the Washington Commanders is full of potential. The question is, will we finally see it realized? Stay tuned, because 2024 might be our year.